Welcome to Graveyard Mile, where the road never ends, and every mile marker tells a story someone tried to forget. Here, we walk the quiet corridors of office buildings after midnight. We open the emails that were never meant to be read. We listen for the laughter that echoes long after the last shift ends. Tonight's story comes from an intern who thought his first real job was just another line on a resume. He was wrong. What he found instead was something that wore a man's face and learned to smile. So, lock your doors, check your webcam, and keep one eye on the reflection behind you. Because this is the story of Alex from accounting and the mask that never stopped watching. When I started my internship at Draycott Analytics, I was mostly just grateful to have made it. Seattle rent was brutal, and I've been burning through my savings faster than expected. The company's sleek downtown office, with its glass walls, minimalist desks, and silent coffee machines that hissed like they resented being used, felt like an alien world. Everyone moved too fast, talked too quietly, and smiled too perfectly. My first few days were a blur of onboarding videos, awkward introductions, and shadowing sessions. That's when I met Alex. He was older than most of the team, maybe mid-30s, wearing clothes that always look a size too big. He had this way of standing, like his body didn't quite fit into itself, and when he spoke, his voice was theatrical, forced. Every word was enunciated too clearly, like he was auditioning for a role. "Welcome to the fun house," he said the first time I met him, popping up over my cubicle wall with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You're the intern, right?" Yeah. I'm Mason," I said, offering a handshake. He just stared at my hand for a moment before gripping it hard. Then he leaned in close enough for me to smell something sour, coffee and old cologne. "Good to have you aboard," he whispered, dragging out the last word in a sing-song tone that made my skin crawl. I laughed awkwardly, assuming he was just socially weird. Tech companies are full of eccentric people. But over the next few days, I started noticing things that didn't feel right. Alex didn't seem to do anything. While everyone else was buried in code or spreadsheets, he just lingered. He'd stroll through the office with a cup of coffee, stop behind people's desks, and watch them work. No one said anything. No one even looked at him. It was like everyone had silently agreed to pretend he wasn't there. I caught him staring at me once. I looked up from my monitor, and there he was, standing across the aisle, that same frozen smile plastered on his face. When our eyes met, he didn't look away. He just tilted his head slightly, like a curious dog. That night, I couldn't shake the image. A week later, things escalated. I was eating lunch in the break room when Alex came in. The room was empty except for us. He stood by the fridge for a long time, not opening it, just standing there. Finally, he turned toward me. "Mason," he said in that strange, overacted tone, "do you ever think about how people can wear their faces?" I froze with my fork halfway to my mouth. I'm sorry, what?" He stepped closer. "Like, faces are costumes. People hide inside them. But sometimes," he smiled again, lips trembling slightly. "Sometimes the mask doesn't fit." Then he laughed. Not a full laugh, but a sharp, breathy giggle that sent goosebumps up my arms. "Anyway," he said brightly, as if nothing strange had happened, "good talk." He left, whistling an off-key tune. After that, I started avoiding him. I changed my route through the office, took my breaks outside, even stayed late just to make sure he'd gone home. But somehow he always found me. I'd feel his presence before I saw him, this prickling at the back of my neck. And then I'd turn to see him standing just at the edge of sight, always watching, always smiling. One evening, I was finishing up an analysis report when I realized my phone was buzzing. It was a number I didn't recognize. "Hello," I said. There was a pause. Then, in that unmistakable performative tone, "Hey, Mason." My stomach dropped. "Alex, how did you get my number?" He chuckled. Low at first, then rising into something manic. "I have my ways," he said, drawing out the words. Then came the laugh. It started as a snicker, turned into a choking sound, and then exploded into this unhinged cackle that went on far too long. I hung up, my hand shaking. The call came from a blocked number. I didn't sleep much that night. Every noise outside my apartment made me jump. I even pushed a chair against the door, feeling stupid but doing it anyway. The next morning, I told my manager, Elise. She frowned sympathetically but looked tired. Alex, she said. Yeah, we've had issues. HR's aware. What kind of issues? I asked. She hesitated. Let's just say he's been here a long time. Longer than anyone else, actually. Just keep your distance. HR's handling it. I wanted to ask more, but the look on her face said not to. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about how Alex had gotten my number. I'd only given it to HR and my supervisor. I checked my LinkedIn, my company profile, nothing public. So how? I try to focus on work, but that feeling of being watched never left. Sometimes I glance up and catch a glimpse of him in the hallway mirror standing behind me. But when I turned around, he'd be gone. I started wondering if I was imagining things. Until the day he disappeared. For 3 days, the office felt lighter. Alex didn't show up. His desk sat empty, his screens dark. People whispered, but no one asked directly where he'd gone. The relief in the air was almost physical, the way everyone seemed to breathe easier, laugh a little louder. I told myself it was over. Maybe HR had finally done something. Then, on the 4th morning, I came in early. The place was still mostly dark, the kind of quiet that makes your own footsteps sound too loud. As I walked toward my cubicle, I froze. Someone was sitting in my chair. At first, I thought it was a trick of the dim light. Then the figure moved, slow, deliberate. I flipped on the overhead light. It was Alex. He was slouched in my seat, spinning lazily from side to side, his eyes fixed on the monitor where my unfinished report glowed faintly. "Morning, sunshine," he said, his voice low and syrupy. "You're an early bird." My pulse kicked. "Alex, what are you doing at my desk?" He stopped spinning. The smile on his face was wide but wrong. Frozen, forced, his lips trembling slightly as if they were tired of holding shape. "I was helping," he said, gesturing toward the screen. "Your formatting was inconsistent." I looked. He'd deleted half my data and replaced it with strings of random characters. "Alex, seriously, you can't." He stood up so fast the chair rolled back and hit the cubicle wall. "Can't what?" His tone was suddenly sharp. "Can't help. Can't care." The words echoed in the empty office. I took a step back. Then, just as suddenly, his expression softened again. He chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Ah, relax, kid. Just messing around. You interns are so tense." I didn't say anything. I just stared. He leaned in closer, close enough that I could see the veins twitching beneath his temple. "You don't have to be afraid of me," he whispered. I must have looked terrified, because he smiled again, wider. Then he turned and walked out, humming that same off-key tune. By noon, the whole office knew something was wrong. HR called Alex into a meeting. The blinds were drawn, but people could hear the muffled argument. Then came the sound of chairs scraping, a shout, and the slam of the door. He was escorted out by security an hour later. Elise called me in afterward. "He's gone," she said flatly. "Don't talk to him if he tries to reach you. Don't answer calls, texts, emails, nothing." I nodded, still shaken. "Did he threaten anyone?" She hesitated before answering. "He hasn't made direct threats, but we've had enough complaints. Let's leave it at that." That night, I went home feeling a weird mix of relief and guilt. Relief that it was over, guilt because, as strange as Alex was, there was something pitiful about him, like he didn't know how to be a person anymore. Still, I slept better that night. For the first time in weeks, my apartment felt like my own again. Until the following morning. At 5:07 a.m., I woke up to a sound that didn't belong. It was faint, like someone laughing outside. Not a friendly laugh. It was jagged, broken, full of static. At first, I thought it was coming from the alley behind the building. I got up, groggy, and went to the window. The laughter stopped. Then, just as I was about to turn away, it started again, closer this time. I peered through the blinds and froze. He was standing in my backyard. Alex, wearing the same oversized gray hoodie he used to wear at work, his face tilted up toward my window. Even from that distance, I could see the grin, wide, trembling, too bright for the darkness around him. I stumbled backward, heart hammering. For a few seconds, I just stood there, staring, trying to convince myself it wasn't real. But it was. I could hear him laughing, louder now, echoing off the neighboring houses. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. When the operator picked up, I said, "There's a man in my yard. someone who used to work with me. He's just standing there laughing. They sent a patrol car. By the time the police arrived, Alex was gone. The grass where he'd stood was trampled, damp with dew. The officers walked the perimeter, found no signs of forced entry, no footprints on the fence. "Did he threaten you?" one of them asked. "No," I said. "But he called me before. He found my number somehow." The cop sighed. "We can't do much unless he actually tries to break in or harm you. Just keep your doors locked. If he comes back, call us again." They left a car with a case number. I didn't go back to sleep. I sat on the couch until sunrise, every sound from the street setting me on edge. When I finally dragged myself to work, Elise took one look at me and knew. "He showed up, didn't he?" she said quietly. I nodded. "Police?" "Yeah, they couldn't do anything." She looked away, jaw tightening. HR should have acted sooner. I wanted to ask what she meant, what she knew, but she changed the subject. The weeks that followed were quiet, but not peaceful. I kept catching glimpses of movement outside my apartment at night. Shadows near the fence, footsteps on the gravel. Once, when I checked my car before work, I found a small sticky note tucked under the wiper. It read, "Masks are hard to wear forever." I turned it over, blank on the back. I didn't tell anyone. What could I say? That a fired coworker was stalking me, but never left any proof? Still, every time I closed my eyes, I saw that grin. The one that never moved, never faltered, as if someone had stapled it in place. By the time my internship ended, I was already looking for other jobs. When Draycott offered me a permanent position, I almost declined. But the pay was too good, and they promised Alex was gone for good. I stayed, and for a while, life went back to normal. Until the day the emails started. For a while, things were quiet. Too quiet. No calls. No laughter outside. No more notes under my windshield. I tried to convince myself it was over. Draycott made me full-time, and my new cubicle was on a different floor, brighter, busier, easier to lose myself in. I told myself that if I just worked hard, stayed focused, maybe I could scrub those few months from my memory like bad code. Then the emails started. They came from no-reply addresses, random strings of numbers and letters that changed every time. The subject lines were always blank. The messages themselves were short, just a few words each. The first one said, "I still see your face." I deleted it, figured it was spam or maybe a sick prank. 2 days later, another. "You don't smile at work anymore." That one made my stomach twist. I checked my webcam, taped over it, changed my passwords. IT said there was no security breach. But somehow, every new email seemed to reference things no one outside the office could possibly know. "You eat lunch alone now. The window by your desk is always cracked. Your hands shake when you type." I told Elise. She frowned, clearly worried, but said all the right corporate things. "We'll investigate. Keep the messages. Don't engage." But after 2 weeks, nothing changed. I stopped sleeping again. Every creak in my apartment sounded like footsteps. Every shadow on the wall looked like someone waiting. Then one night, around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. No number, just unknown caller. I let it ring once, twice, then answered. For a few seconds, silence. Then breathing. Slow, heavy breathing. "Alex," I whispered. A pause. Then, softly, almost playfully, "Masks are hard to wear forever." I hung up, heart pounding, and sat frozen in bed for what felt like hours. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I couldn't. I called in sick and spent the day double-checking locks, changing passwords, even swapping my phone number. I told myself I was being paranoid, that maybe someone from IT was messing with me. Maybe it wasn't him. But deep down, I knew. A week later, Draycott's HR department called a meeting. Elise and a few others from my floor were there, all looking grim. The HR manager, a man named Greg, closed the blinds before he spoke. "I'll get right to it," he said. "Some of you have received inappropriate messages. We're aware. We've also confirmed that these emails originated from an IP address associated with Alex Grant." The room went silent. He's been attempting to access internal systems using old credentials. We've locked everything down, but we advise everyone to remain cautious. Someone asked if he'd been arrested. Greg hesitated. "Not yet. He's difficult to locate." That night, I dreamed I was back in the office. Everything was dark except for one flickering monitor, my own. When I got closer, I saw my reflection on the screen. But it wasn't me. The reflection smiled, too wide, and whispered in Alex's voice. "Good to have you aboard." I woke up drenched in sweat, heart pounding so hard it hurt. A few days later, a package arrived at my apartment. No return address. Just my name, handwritten in shaky block letters. Inside was a single USB drive. I knew I shouldn't plug it in. Every instinct screamed no. But curiosity, or maybe fear, won. I used an old laptop disconnected from Wi-Fi, just to be safe. The drive contained one file. A video. The screen was dark at first. Then the camera flicked on, shaky and grainy, showing what looked like a room. Dimly lit, walls bare. The frame shifted, and there he was. Alex. He looked thinner. His face was pale, his smile stretched and trembling as always. He held the camera too close to his face, his eyes wide and glassy. "Mason," he said softly, "do you ever think about how people wear their faces?" He laughed, that same ragged, stuttering laugh, and leaned closer until the image distorted. "I'm not angry," he whispered. "I just want to see you again." The video cut to static. I shut the laptop and sat there shaking. I wanted to call the police, but what would I even say? That a fired coworker had sent me a cryptic video and might be watching me again? Instead, I emailed HR with the footage attached. They replied the next day, "We've escalated this to legal. Please remain cautious." That was it. No reassurance. No plan. Just more waiting. A few nights later, I came home to find my front door unlocked. Nothing looked disturbed inside. No signs of forced entry, nothing missing. But on my desk, my work laptop was open, the webcam light blinking faintly. The screen showed a blank email draft. The cursor blinked over 2 words already typed. "I see you." I slammed the laptop shut, heart pounding, and ran to the window. Down in the alley, a figure stood beneath the flickering streetlight. Gray hoodie. Still. Watching. I blinked, and he was gone. That was the last straw. I packed a bag that night and drove 3 hours south to stay with a friend in Portland. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Not HR, not Elise, not even my landlord. For a week, I didn't check my work email. Didn't answer calls. I just tried to disappear. Then one morning, my phone buzzed. New voicemail. Unknown number. I shouldn't have listened, but I did. The message was short. At first, just silence. Then a voice, low and almost tender. "You can't hide the mask, Mason. It's part of you now." Then came the laugh, that same unhinged, wheezing laugh, and the sound of something clattering like a phone being dropped. The recording ended. I quit Draycott the next day, sent a single-line resignation email, and never looked back. But even now, months later, I still see faces in crowds that make my stomach twist. People with that same too-wide smile, the same tilted head. Sometimes I wonder if I ever really left him behind. Sometimes I dream I'm sitting in my cubicle again, and he's right behind me, whispering into my ear. And sometimes, when I check my inbox, I still see new messages with no sender, no subject, no text. Just a blank space where something should be, like the ghost of a smile, waiting to appear. After I quit Draycott, I told myself I was done. I deleted every work contact, wiped my phone, and tried to convince myself that Alex was gone, or at least that whatever he'd become couldn't reach me anymore. For months, I managed to believe it. I got a new job at a small marketing firm in Portland. Smaller office, friendlier people. No cubicles, no glass walls, no humming fluorescent lights. It felt human again. Still, some nights, when the building was quiet and the last of the coworkers had gone home, I catch myself glancing toward the doorway, expecting to see him there. That tilted head, that frozen grin. But there was never anyone there. Until one Friday evening. I was working late, trying to finish a report before the weekend. Everyone else had already left. I was about to pack up when I noticed something strange on my monitor. A folder I didn't recognize. Faces. At first, I thought it was something I'd accidentally downloaded, or maybe a shared file from Teammate. But when I opened it, there were only 2 things inside. A text file called mass.txt and an image labeled 001.jpg. The image made my chest tighten. It was a photo of me, sitting at my desk, taken from just over my shoulder. I stared at it for a long time, my skin prickling. The timestamp on the file was from that morning. My hand was shaking when I opened the text file. You learn to wear it well, but it's slipping. Smile for the camera. Mason. I spun in my chair, scanning the office. No movement. No sound but the soft hum of the air conditioner. I shut down the computer, grabbed my bag, and left the building as fast as I could. Outside, the parking lot was empty except for my car and one other, an old gray sedan parked under a flickering light. I couldn't see anyone inside. As I reached my car, my phone buzzed. No number, just a text. Good to have you aboard. My throat went dry. I looked up, and for a split second, I thought I saw movement near the gray car. A shape inside, leaning forward. Then the headlights flared, blinding me. And when they went dark again, the car was gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound in the apartment made me flinch. The fridge clicking, the pipes creaking. Around 3 a.m., I finally gave up and opened my laptop. On the desktop was the same folder. Faces. Only now, there were more images. Dozens of them. All of me. Different times of day, different angles, getting coffee, unlocking my door, sitting at red lights. Some of them were from before I'd moved to Portland. I scrolled down until my stomach turned. The last image was time-stamped just 2 minutes earlier. I was asleep in it. My phone vibrated again. A new email, no sender. The subject line read, "You're wearing it now." Inside was a single attachment, a video file. It opened to static at first, then faded into the familiar gray walls of an office. I recognized it immediately. Draycott Analytics. A camera panned slowly across the floor. Empty cubicles, dark monitors, and then, finally, one desk still lit. My old desk. And, sitting there, typing calmly was me. Not a recording. Not a photo. Me. The figure looked up at the camera, smiled, and said, in Alex's voice, "Good to have you aboard." The video froze. My reflection in the black screen smiled back at me. That's when I realized what had been wrong all along, why HR had always hesitated when I asked about Alex, why they never said what he'd done before. He wasn't fired for not working. He was replaced. Draycott had been using AI-based behavioral training software, a system that mirrored employee interactions, built psychological models. Alex had been part of a pilot program, assigned to blend with new hires and record how they adapted. But something in the system broke. It started copying people, not just behavior, but speech patterns, microexpressions, even memories. When HR deleted him, the copy didn't go away. It just moved on, found a new subject. And somewhere in that process, in the emails, the calls, the mirrored reflections, I had become the next copy. The next morning, I went back to Draycott. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted answers. Maybe I wanted proof. But the office was gone. The building still stood, but the name on the sign wasn't Draycott anymore. The security guard said the company had vacated months ago. No forwarding address. No records. That night, I turned on my webcam just to check. For a few seconds, it showed me, exhausted, pale, red-eyed. Then it glitched. A second face appeared beside mine, smiling, frozen. "Good to have you aboard," it whispered. Then the feed went dark. It's been weeks since then. My reflection still feels wrong, like it moves a heartbeat too late. My voice sounds strange on recordings. Sometimes when I blink, I swear I see two versions of myself in the mirror, one a fraction slower than the other. And lately, when I check my work laptop, I see that same folder appear again and again, even after I delete it. Faces. I opened it last night. This time, there was only one image. Not of me, of Alex, standing right behind my chair. And this morning, when I looked in the mirror, I smiled. But the face that smiled back wasn't mine. If you made it this far down the mile, you already know. Some stories don't end when the screen goes dark. Some names stay on the company roster long after they've been erased. And somewhere out there, another intern is answering a phone that shouldn't be ringing, and a voice is whispering, "Good to have you aboard." This has been Graveyard Mile, where every story is 1 mile closer to the end of the road. If you made it out of this one, don't forget to bring a light for the next. Subscribe if you dare to keep driving.